Am I the antagonist for refusing to attend my sister's wedding and saying I don't care about keeping up appearances? So for context, my sister, 23 years old, and I, 21 years old, are not close. We never really were, but it got worse when we were both in middle school. It became clear during middle school that I was mentally ill, and I struggled a lot through my preteens and my teens. My sister was highly embarrassed by me and used to tell people we weren't sisters, something she still does on occasion depending on the people she's talking to. She even got into trouble with one of her teachers in high school because the teacher was a family friend and knew us. So she knew we were related, and my sister outright denied we were sisters to the class and called the teacher a liar and said I was a miserable freak. Nobody wanted to know, let alone her. She never wanted to be seen with me. If our parents wanted us to do something as a family, she would say she wouldn't be seen with me in public, that it was humiliating enough to live with me, but she would not ruin her reputation by being with Psycho Girl, something I was nicknamed in middle school after I had a breakdown in class. At one point, my parents insisted that my sister come along to therapy with me, and they joined as well. The idea was everyone would get to understand what I was going through more. The therapist wasn't okay with it, but my parents pressured me to say I was, so I did, something I regret to this day. So my therapist explained about my bad anxiety, intrusive thoughts, and depression. Afterward, my sister told me I should listen to those intrusive thoughts more often, since they sound pretty accurate and helpful. I would say most of this came from the fact our parents paid more attention to me, but that's actually untrue, and they ignored me a lot because my sister was always the one who shined and was popular, so she was easier, while I always struggled with anxiety and my emotions. That being ignored for so long contributed to why I got so bad. The real reason my sister feels the way she does, I believe, is because I had a mental health crisis in school, and people talked about it and me for ages after. I don't think she ever forgave me for that. Anyway, she met a guy in college and now they're getting married, and the wedding has become an argument between my parents and me. I BP'd no to the wedding. My parents were telling me I should be at my sister's wedding. At first, my sister was okay with me not going, but her in-laws were asking questions, so now she's like I need to be there or else. She said my pathetic life could wait for one day while I make her life easier. Her fiancé told me to make sure I take my meds and practice a smile so his family won't realize how weird I am. My sister also told me not to tell some of his friends that I'm her sister because, again, she denies me still. But his parents know. It's a mess. My parents talk about how bad it will look if I'm not there. I refuse to attend or take back my no, and I told them I don't care about keeping up appearances. Am I the asshole? Wow, your parents are major ass for letting her continue this behavior, and she should been in therapy to come to terms with it. You have zero reason to sacrifice for your sister when she couldn't sacrifice for you, and respect is a two-way street. Tell her she doesn't want a sister so bad she doesn't have one anymore. Good for you sticking to your decision, not the antagonist. I am concerned about wife's relationship with male coworker. Hello all. Married 15 years, I am 42 years old and my wife is 45 years old. Once a month for the last 3 months, my wife has gone out to dinner with a male coworker. The coworker and her both work from their home, but on rare occasions they need to meet remotely on job sites, with other coworkers usually present. She always lets me know in advance where and when she's going. The dinner meetings usually last a couple of hours, and it's an hour drive each way back and forth into the city. It has never been a problem until today. She had mentioned going to dinner with him about a week ago, and then let me know yesterday they had made plans for that night. She let me know where and when they were going, and I said okay. She left around 4:30 and got home around 10, and I was sleeping. The last 2 dinners have averaged around the same time, and at one of the past dinners she said other coworkers were there. During the dinner she texted me twice, and then texted me at 8:45 p.m. to let me know she was on the way home. She did not call at all during this time, which I thought was unusual. This morning when I woke up, she was already up and working. I said good morning and gave her a morning kiss as usual. I asked her how her night went and she replied, good, and said nothing else. I thought that was unusual and immediately felt off. I then went to eat breakfast and noticed takeout containers from a very high-end place, minimum of a few hundred for dinner. I then asked my wife where she went again, and she gave me the name of the restaurant and mentioned it was in a hotel. I did not catch the hotel part when she told me where she was going. The restaurant is in a high-end hotel in the city. I then asked if her coworker was staying at that same hotel. She answered, yes. I asked her again to confirm, and she confirmed she went to dinner in the hotel that her coworker was staying at. I then asked her if she went to his room, and that is when all hell broke loose. She immediately got angry and defensive that I even asked such a question. I remained calm, asked her why she was angry, asked again, did you go his room? Her reply was no, and she stated she was angry that I would doubt her fidelity and how that question would even pop into my mind. I let it go at that and went about my business. Not a minute later, she came back up to me and started questioning me on how I could think such a thing and so on. I calmly explained I was just asking a question, and I didn't understand why she got so angry. She walked off after that, and I decided to go for a drive to just think. 10 minutes in, she called me very emotional, crying, asking why I left, and saying she didn't understand what was going on and how I could ask that. and proceeded to tell me I could go through her phone, even though she did not think it was right. She even went as far as to send me a screenshot of their last text where she tells him she made it home safe, had a wonderful evening, enjoyed listening to him, and mentions looking forward to them meeting again and him meeting me. I asked her how she would feel if the shoe was on the other foot, and she stated she would have no problem, because she trusts me. I advised her I didn't want to go through her phone and that we would talk about it later. She was still very upset and then said, "Okay, call me if you want to talk," and that was the end of the conversation. I am very concerned about this and lost as to what my next move should be. Follow your instinct. You've been married 15 years, and this one event isn't sitting right for a reason. She's acting abnormal and something happened and she's lying. I don't think you were wrong for asking if she went to his hotel room. I would be suspicious too, especially if you said she didn't call after or seemed short the following morning. Her getting mad you asked could be taken both ways. She's genuinely hurt or she's defensive and guilty, but knowing she's had infidelity in her past does give you the right, in my eyes, to be a little more suspicious than normal. And she can't wait to introduce you to her affair partner. Am I the antagonist for sending money to my ex-sister-in-law on the day of my brother's wedding? This happened at my brother's wedding a few weeks ago, but it's still an issue, and I need to know whether I'm an asshole here. Backstory: my 36 female, brother, 39 male, married my sister-in-law, Mary, 40 female, in 2012. They had 2 kids together and then subsequently divorced in 2020. My sister-in-law was blindsided, as she was willing to do anything to make their marriage work. My brother was over it and didn't think anything, including counseling, would help, so he moved out. It's taken a lot of work on both of their parts, but they are now to a place where they both co-parent well and respect each other. My brother met his new wife, Amy, 36 female, in December 2022. By October 2023, they were engaged and then married in March 2024. My brother kept his relationship with her a secret. None of our family met her until 1 month before they were engaged. I've met her a handful of times and really like her. She even asked me to be a bridesmaid in the wedding, which I accepted. Here's the problem. I'm extremely close to my ex-sister-in-law Mary. She's the mother of my niece and nephew and she's my friend. That will never change. I've sensed that this makes Amy uncomfortable, but she's never brought it up. I try not to bring up Mary's name when I'm around Amy, and vice versa. Mary was having a hard time leading up to the wedding. She no longer has romantic feelings for my brother, but it's still tough for her to see him move on. Not to mention, Amy comes from an extremely wealthy family. While most months Mary struggles as a single mom, they have shared custody. But to be honest, my brother only has them 4 days a month. As a surprise, several of Mary's friends chipped in and bought her a plane ticket for a weekend getaway to California for her 40th birthday, which also coincided with the weekend of my brother's wedding. It was a happy birthday. Let's celebrate and take your mind off the fact that your ex-husband is getting remarried type thing. So on the day that she flew out, I sent her money via Venmo and left a note like "buy a drink on me. Love you." Here's where I might be the asshole. I sent the money the morning of my brother's wedding. I also sent my new sister-in-law, Amy, a Venmo the same morning to cover my portion of hair and makeup for the wedding. She saw the transaction of the money I sent to Mary and was upset, which I didn't find out about until later in the night. Apparently, she took it as me having loyalty to Mary and not her. At the tail end of the reception, Amy's maid of honor told me that it was real rude and callous to do that to Amy, and that I owe her an apology. Amy has yet to say anything to me about it. I don't think I did anything wrong. In hindsight, I could have made the transaction to Mary private, but it just never occurred to me. So, am I the asshole? It is not Amy's or the moho's business who you give money to. You don't owe Amy an apology but should definitely talk about it after things have calmed down. In similar situations, I kept it simple. You're married to my brother, not me, so don't tell me what to do. Amy needs to realize that Mary will always be part of your life, and she will have to learn to live with it. My family is pressuring me to find someone to marry because my cousin is getting married. My cousin and I, both 24 years old, are the oldest 2 grandchildren in our entire extended families combined. I come from a large and traditional rural Turkish family. Now me and my cousin are very different people, and so are our fathers. Our fathers are siblings. My cousin never lived apart from his parents, stopped his education after high school and pursued a blue-collar job. In addition, he grew up with my grandparents and parents who all live in the same house together. My uncle never moved out of his parents' house either, and stopped going to high school midway through, and never even finished it. In contrast, I moved out at 18 and went to university. Thereafter, I went to graduate school, and now I am working my first traineeship in my field. I took after my dad and mom, who both moved out of my grandparents at 18, established themselves after pursuing a university education outside of Turkey. As a result, I grew up culturally North American Dutch. This shaped my world outlook and my views greatly. Now, my cousin got his first girlfriend a year ago. 3 months in, his dad forced him to introduce her parents to our family. 5 months in, they were engaged. They also had no physical relationship up until their engagement, which was left at a kiss. Now, this summer, they are getting married. That said, I am now on my extended family's target board as the next one they need to rush to get married. I had 2 relationships in my life until now, and each was short-lived and ended badly. Therefore, I am honestly enjoying being 24 and single, and I do not want to date right now at all. I am quite frankly closed off to the idea for now. My family, however, this includes my dad and mom, keep making jokes and remarks about how I have never had a relationship. It is so nice to explore your young adult life with your special someone. How, if only I had a daughter-in-law to give this gift to type nonsense. When I try to put a boundary by saying, I rather experience the world on my own as an adult first, my entire family gets extremely offended. My grandparents are even worse in this regard. They actually ask me things like, wouldn't it be nice to come home to your laundry cleaned and you having a proper warm meal after work? I usually say I don't need a slave, I need a partner, which offends my uncle, my cousin, and grandpa, who are all men that are unable to even crack an egg for themselves and treat their wives as house slaves. Anyways, I basically get constant remarks and pushes and matchmaking initiatives by my family because me and my cousin are always compared to one another in terms of these things, and I am sick of it. I know it will only worsen at his wedding, and honestly I am thinking about skipping the wedding and use the money instead to go on vacation to draw my boundary. How can I cancel on the wedding and/or put a stop to this pressure I keep getting? I know someone in a similar situation with his conservative family, and he just smiled and nodded, ignoring the comments. Maybe you could try that approach. Only get married if you want to, but consider where you see yourself in the next few decades and start planning now. It might be helpful to joke about staying single longer whenever someone pressures you, and just walk away if they push further. My boyfriend is telling me to just get over my PTSD. Am I being unreasonable? I have not been in this relationship for a very long time, only about a month. I have been celibate and single for 2 years now, waiting for the right person, and everything has seemed good up until lately with my new boyfriend. I was very transparent with him that I had complex post-traumatic stress disorder as a result of a really terrifying upbringing and childhood sexual abuse. But I have had years of therapy and have actually been doing really mentally well lately. The other night was the first time I went to my boyfriend's place, and I had told him many times I was nervous and hesitant. We did not sleep together, but it was the first time we had done anything more than kiss, and I told him I would need some reassurance the next day that everything was okay. I am used to people only liking me because of how I look, and am very wary. He was nice to me until yesterday, after I went over and the next day expressed that I was feeling anxious because I had let my walls down. His replies started getting sketchy and weird, and he kept saying he was on his way home, then replying hours later still being out. A few hours passed and I started getting concerned and asked him if he was okay. He then replied and out of nowhere started complaining that my miniature mental breakdowns were really boring and tiresome, and he did not have time for such trivialities. I was honestly shocked because this was out of character for him. I told him I just wanted some reassurance because being physical was a lot for me, and he went on to say that I needed to just get over my post-traumatic stress disorder and that I needed to check myself because my feelings were not his responsibility. I told him that I was incredibly upset by this and was crying, and he ignored that I was upset and went to bed. I was sending him messages saying this was making me feel awful and like I wanted to break up. And not only did he totally ignore everything I said, he just began sending me country music. Lol. The way he was speaking had totally changed, made little sense, and I genuinely wonder if he took something. I am just shocked someone can be so callous and insensitive, completely ignoring that I was upset to the point of considering leaving him. I am honestly at a loss for words at this point. I have never known someone to act like this. I thought he had been drunk or something until today when he messaged me again, doubling down on what he said before. I asked him if he had been drunk last night and he said no. He said he did not want to discuss how I felt and would rather do better things with my free time. I feel like my head has been in a washing machine and nothing makes sense. He blamed me for everything and said I was apparently creating a toxic relationship and accused me of sabotaging things. I honestly have been feeling confused because he has made out that I have done something wrong, has not apologized for upsetting me, and does not seem to care at all how I feel. I am honestly in shock, really upset, and wondering if I have been unreasonable. Thank you for the kind comments. I said to him, why would I want to be with you? What would I get out of it? Absolutely nothing, and told him we are done, and that I find him to be utterly foul. Blocked on everything. In summary, my new boyfriend has suddenly changed how he talks to me and is telling me I need to just get over my post-traumatic stress disorder. This guy is trash through and through. He's manipulating and using you for sex without caring about your feelings. It's clear that he doesn't value you and only wants someone to fit his own selfish agenda. Don't let him play with your emotions. It's time to cut him off and move on to someone who actually respects you. I just found out that my boyfriend's parents are billionaires. Am I in the right to feel surprised as it's been 2 years? Pretty self-explanatory title. I, 24 years old female, Just found out via online that the parents of my boyfriend, 25 years old male, are billionaires. I knew that my partner and I grew up in very different financial situations, and that's definitely posed some challenges. But knowing that he comes from billionaires makes me feel a bit in the dark, as it's been 2 years. I grew up with divorced parents, single mom and then dead dad. Mom always worked really hard to make sure my siblings and I could do the things we wanted to do. Lots of crock-pot meals and hamburger helper lol. And no family vacations ever. I loved how I grew up and didn't know that we were ever struggling. My mom is 60 years old and still works. Boyfriend's family has parents who are still together, and they constantly moved countries for the parents' work. Private school for he and his siblings and paid for college. Parents are both retired and have been for 5 years. Has no clue what a crockpot or hamburger helper are. We both have salary jobs, but I have student loans, credit card debt, and live in a recently gentrified part of town with roommates. I am in an entry-level role, and my take-home is 43k, the most money I've ever had, so I'm not complaining. Boyfriend is aware of my debts and salary. My boyfriend lives on the top floor of a luxury apartment, no student loans, parents bought his car as a grad present, and also got him a Rolex watch as a grad present from his masters. My boyfriend is in a manager role and won't tell me his salary, but he asked mine, so this leads me to thinking it's much higher than mine. We split things pretty equally and always have. After he initiated a conversation saying that he pays for way more, and things feel unequal. For a few months I didn't have a job and he actually brought this up then. I was very surprised, but ever since I've been on high alert for immediately Venmoing back, the same for him. I know that his family's money is not necessarily his, but for some reason it really bugs me that he never told me these things vocalize things not being equal. I'm the type of person that I love spoiling those in my life as much as I can, know that things will even out eventually. He knows all of my debts and doesn't like staying at mine because of the area, so I'm very conflicted on how to feel about this. I love working but never imagined going tit for tat with a serious partner. Don't want a husband this way. How would you go about this? Probably 2 separate issues over here. Your BF didn't have to disclose that his parents are billionaires to you, for logical reasons and to avoid gold diggers. If he makes more money than you but insists on going 50-50, then it's up to you to decide if you're okay with that. Is the lifestyle you're sharing costing more to maintain because of his tastes? His parents' income is irrelevant, but the problem is that now that you know, you're focusing on his wealth. Sit down and have a conversation with your BF about setting a budget and how you both contribute. In a relationship, it's about finding what's best for both of you, not just one person's desires. I personally wouldn't settle for this treatment. It's worth at least a conversation. Thanks for watching. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications so you never miss a video. To finish listening to all the stories, check out the playlist in the description.